As we head now to Damango, we're told there's a situation there. And Isaac Nonya is joining us live from Damango to give us updates. Isaac, what exactly is happening? I'm told you have a situation at hand.
Happening is that an hour ago, some youth purported to be coming from the NDC find their way into the Collection Center for the third time. And this time around, they overpowered the police and entered and vandalized every material regarding the 2024 election, both presidential and parliamentary. All the computer, the PC, the document, everything torn. You know, the Collection Center happened to be the district magistrate court for West Gonja. And it has not been operating for almost 10 years now. So it has become a very nice place for the coalition. That's what it was used for the last election and then this one. They went beyond the coalition center and vandalized every other office of the building. Behind this, they went and started fire on the store room of the EC. Every material inside the store room has been burned down. And those who have other personal belongings like motorbike, I can see behind me one motorbike, new one, also set ablaze. So let me state that the second one that they came last night, and then the military came in support with the police. They were able to control them, and they withdrew. This morning, when they came, they didn't know the military was around. But when they appeared, the military came on, and then they withdrew again. But the military were told to go away. Let's play this declared. The military were told that they were not invited. So when they were not invited, they should go away. They left. This time around, you knowing that the military were not there, they decided to come full force, push away the police, took over the building. With all those who were in the car, it was only God who brought us out safe. They destroyed all the computers. Everything inside it, they couldn't salvage a single thing. That means the results for 2024, the parliamentary and presidential is gone.
Are you kidding?
It's gone, unless they have something with the at the regional level. Everything within the municipal, both store and collection center, destroyed. The office set ablaze, and then the collection center, every material destroyed. Laptop, computer, everything. Now, there were about 4 ballot boxes that were yet to be counted, both presidential and parliamentary, from Ladbanga and other areas. They made sure they opened the box, destroyed everything, and then that is it.
Who are they? Who are these persons, and what led to this level of anger?
Yes, you can say these are NDC youth. When they came, they demanded that the EC first declare that of the parliamentary before the presidential. The ACT said they were working on the presidential, then they will come to parliamentary. This had been the demand since yesterday. So EC finally agreed that, look, Regional Secretary of NDC and your people come. We'll go with the parliamentary, then we'll come to the presidential. That's where they were about to start, and the youth marched in. And then nobody was spared. Not a single human being was spared before they vandalized all the material, destroyed everything. And behind everybody, the fire, the storeroom of the EC was also on fire. That is it. There has not been a single arrest. Another thing is that they also blocked the road, preventing the fire service from coming to salvage anything that could help the Electoral Commission. Everything has been banned, including the building, before fire service came in. And
you say since then there's not been a single arrest?
There has not been a single arrest. So I will speak. I had a chance of listening to an officer who then called the IGP, who said, okay, now the military can come. They can come at the time that they can salvage nothing. Everything will be destroyed. That means they're coming in at the wrong hour. Why were they asked to withdraw? So when the military were there and saw it, they decided not to come because they were asked not to come. They waited till the IGP gave the order, then they came in. They are here at the moment, but everything is destroyed.
Well, so everything is destroyed, like you said, including electoral materials, amongst others. Have we heard from the EC officials, for instance, you mentioned that you all had to flee, but have they been able to tell us whether indeed we had the 2024 results in that building that got burnt?
We are yet to have in contact with either both municipal and regional directors of EC. Until then, we think that what we saw here with our lay eyes, everything is gone.
But how about the candidates in this particular election? That's Damongo. You were mentioning that they were insisting they declare the parliamentary results. Was that done? And have we heard from the candidates themselves on this particular action?
Remember, I was here somewhere 6 p.m. last night. Up to now, I will speak. None of them has appeared here. The police were making a proposal that they should invite them. They should have invited them yesterday to come and make commitment and talk to people, the supporters who were here. But that was not done. I will speak. We are yet to see any of them come closer here, both Coalition Center or the EC office, to pass the comment or to see what has happened here.
But was the declaration done before then? Because you mentioned earlier that they were demanding that that declaration was done and the EC gave in. Did that happen?
It was that demand that the EC was working on. They just sat down, right? We went in to also glance through to know what they were doing. They agreed that, yes, we are working on the parliamentary. So they were still sorting things out with the officers and then the party agents. Less than 5 minutes, we saw the youth. This time, they mobilized more than 200. Nobody could stop them. They took over the Coalition Center and then others to the electoral office and they executed their plan. So you see that it was out of anger. I don't know whether they didn't know that this time they were working on their demand by working on the parliamentary or not. I believe if they knew, they would have come in. They came in, but it was too late.
You mentioned that later on there was an order that was given for the military to finally come in after they were denied entry the first time. You mentioned that they are there as we speak. What exactly are they doing now? Do we still have the angry youth on the ground? What exactly is happening now? What can you tell us?
The military are here to safeguard life and property. You know, people have stores and buildings around here. Don't forget, both EC office and the Coalition Center is just like 100 meters away from the Damago Senior High School. Children are in school. Their lives here. So the military are here together with the police to ensure sanity and then peace. Also, what has happened here, you know, I have the privilege of dropping a discussion between an officer and an IGP. The officer was very frustrated when he demanded that the military to come back and support. But the IGP resisted. So the officer is continued till his wish was granted. That was after the place was vandalized and the office was set ablaze. So the military moved in. Actually, let me say, 100 meters away from the Coalition Center and 50 meters away from the EC office is how the military was stationed. That is inside the school. The actual order was happening. How do you mark in the saw them? But they couldn't have come because they were prevented, they were stopped from coming. That was our order. Until they were given an order to come in, everything has gone bad.
I can tell the apprehension in your voice, but Isaac, I can only say that please do stay safe and we'll get some answers and return to you on this. So that's the situation in Damongo, and it does appear that Mama V is not just Damongo that we're hearing about this, you know, burning of ballot materials and EC office. It does appear there's a situation also in Techiman, and we'll get there right now. And Anas Sabit has joined us on the phone on this situation as well. Anas Sabit, I can see ballot materials and papers being thrown all around. Tell me what led to this. Hello, Anas.
Hello.
What's happening where you are?
For the Techiman Divisional Police Command, which is serving as the coalition center for Techiman South constituency, is currently under attack. I have managed to leave the scene, but a host of media personnel, together with EC officials, are currently under hostage. They've been locked in the premises of the divisional command for their safety, because nowhere is safe from the environment. The angry mob have been able to get into the premises of the divisional command, took, you know, almost all the ballot boxes and ballot papers out and then set them ablaze. There's been also some gunshots, but the thing is, it's just it's a replica of what happened in 2020. You remember how 2 persons or some 8 persons were shot and 2 persons lost their lives. almost a repeat of that incident. The police have been calm. They have managed not to overreact, but the scene there is terrible. Very, very terrible.
Anas, please walk us through what led to this situation that we are describing. Thankfully, you've been able to escape the scene. You're telling us about some media personnel, your colleagues, still locked up as we speak, unable to leave the scene. What actually led to this, as you can recall it?
And it seems across the nation, we recorded, delay in the collation of the results. From last night, we arrived at the collation center around 8 p.m. We were there until this morning. The presidential collation was not done. In fact, it was still in process. And these angry supporters felt this same delay, contributed to what happened in 2020. So we're calling for the EC to hasten the processes. In fact, the presidential was done before the parliamentary also started. The presidential results put John Dramani Mahama in a lead. The margin was huge, or it's huge. That of the parliamentary, from what we are getting from the ground, seems to put the member of parliament who is the candidate for the New Pacific Party in the lead. But that is not what the EC is providing. And this seems to be, keeping the place under tense mode, because the NDC stakeholders there are claiming that they've won both presidential and parliamentary. But we were all waiting for the EC to get through with the parliamentary so that we'll be able to, send them through. As I speak to you now, that has not been completed. And that is what is, pushing the angry mob to agitate and then attack the premises. And in the situation currently, I would say, is getting out of hand.
Well, I see the pictures, at least we're rolling it on the screen for the benefit of those who are listening to us on radio. At least we're seeing some angry youth at a police station, and we see some vandalization of ballot material. At least I see a number of papers, some being thrown out of the building. It's a one-story building that you're throwing the papers out. But I would want to find out and ask, who are these supporters? At least from what I see, most of them are not wearing any party colors, but I see one person wearing an NDC T-shirt and carrying an NDC flag amongst others. Is it supporters from both sides, or what kind of indication did you get in terms of who these supporters are?
These supporters, most of them are supporters of the National Democratic Congress. In fact, the defeat, the MPP has choice from national, means almost all their fans are out of the premises. We're out of the premises. They left very early last night. And I struggled to even see one or two of different people there. Majority of these people we are seeing on the ground are supporters of the National Democratic Congress who are saying that they want Ichiman South and the EC should go ahead and declare the parliamentary candidate for the National Democratic Congress, Christopher Basunti-Bayere, as the winner of Ichiman South. So that is, all that is happening in Ichiman. And honestly, like I said, it's just a replica of the 2020 incident. I'm just hoping that the situation will not escalate beyond, what it is, the form it is in right now. The sad part of the whole thing is the media persons that are currently locked up. We don't know when and how they'll be able to get out of the Divisional Police Command. How
long have they been locked up, and why? Who locked them up?
The police, for their safety, like I'm saying. The mob nearly got into the premises of the police command, and for their own safety, they were made to get into one room for their own safety, like I'm saying.
How long has this been? Anas, how long has this been?
They've been in this situation from about 11 p.m. It's now 2 p.m. So that is about 3 hours now. And I've been speaking. I'm in touch with them. They are telling me the situation they are in is currently getting out of hand. They need a way out. We all don't know what to do now.
Okay.
I am fortunate to be out of the place. I am in a safe place, but my colleagues in there are not in a safe mode.
Well, we would want to hear from the police on this. But by the way, was the declaration done?
no declaration has been done yet, especially with the parliamentary.
Okay.
The presidential, we have had out of 282 polling stations, we've had some 279 polling stations confirmed. We were told there were issues with some state polling stations. But the margin, like I said, between John Dramani Mahama and the presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party is quite huge, and nothing could change, the result. With or without the 3 polling stations left. Same cannot be said of the parliamentary, which is halfway through in terms of coalition. The chaos, means the coalition had to be, held for some time now. So as I speak to you, I don't know, I cannot tell whether it's in session or it's on hold. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, that's my colleague Anas Sabit there giving us the situation at Techiman South. And I'm really concerned about our media colleagues who are currently locked up because of the entire, chaos in Techiman South. And you heard Anas, this is the same constituency that we recorded that shooting incident that led to the death of about 8 persons. And we still did not get to the bottom of that particular incident before the 2024 elections and then now. But thankfully, we are told that the police personnel on site have been able to control themselves such that there's no clash between themselves and these angry supporters. But hopefully we can get some answers from the Ghana Police Service on this. So lingering, the issues that we need answers to, Damango, Kwandai, and then Techiman South. Yeah. So we are hoping that we can get some responses. Our team are on the ground at the National Election Security Task Force. That's the police headquarters, and will give us some answers. But it's a good time to hear what exactly you were saying on social media, what exactly the talk is everywhere. And thankfully, KMJ and Noella are on standby from our strong room to give us some updates. Really, what are people talking about? Are they trolling? What exactly is going on?
Right, MFR, coming to you live from our strong room of your election headquarters. Of course, we are live on Joy News, live on Joy Prime Television. Of course, on radio as well, on Joy 99.7 FM. This is HQ Interactive. What we do here is basically get on social media, gauge the feelings. Are people feeling or bleeding? We're going to gauge that. And of course, gauge their reactions as well and bring that to you in real time. And so once again, you are welcome to HQ Interactive with me, Noella, Karen Yali, and of course, my handbag.
I know, right? And, so it's been a little over 4 hours, and we're still hoping that the EC would officially come out to announce. As of now, we've not received any of the results from the EC's office. We're hoping that will be done, and then eventually we get to have the declaration. But of course, we've had the vice president and the presidential candidate for the NPP come out to accept defeat and also congratulates the president-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
And it's worthy of note that in the last 24 hours, your election headquarters have brought you unparalleled. You know, that word is a word that I always have to take.
Parallel.
Or I would be tempted to say in our local parlance.
How do you say that in our local parlance?
Please don't test me. Don't do that. But yeah, we have brought you unparalleled analysis and coverage of the 2024 general elections coming to you live from Accra, Ghana, West Africa. And so from wherever you're watching us from globally, your best bet is with your election headquarters. Now, if you ask me, KMJ, I think generally we've had a fairly peaceful election.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, I don't know why the collating of the results are being characterized by a lot of chaos. But for me, I think fairly we've had a very peaceful election. And speaking of that, let's move to the first, which is the conceding.
The vice president.
Right? The conceding.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of talks on social media. But you know what? It's not going to come from me. Let's check what people are saying about him conceding defeat, right?
Okay.
Now, you want to help us with some of the messages?
All right, so this one is coming from Sharif Kofi Edu, and he says, I don't like politics, but this is pure class from Dr. Baumia, maturity at its best. Ghana is always an example for other African countries. Ghana won with a heart emoji over there.
Right.
Yeah, good
And
one.
also, Hassanike Barak is saying something. You want to help us with that?
He gets back to him. I think, okay, well, there have been other responses from the the other one, but we'll move from there. And,
well, A.B. Kublenu says, you
Okay.
are a statesman. You deserve a Ghana card, which is quite interesting and funny.
He already has a Ghana card.
Right? But I mean, going through the conversation on social media, a lot of people seem to have a problem with him conceding early. People think, well, you can see that as a strategy. And others also think that it's quite honorable. It makes him a gentleman. What do you think?
I've seen a few people, tweet on X and Facebook and say he's won. They want his love, the hearts, and all of that. And I think that it was something he wanted to do. If you look at it, when he came, he was smiling. It wasn't as if he was been pushed to come and do something or whatever it is. He may have his own issues with the party in terms of his decision. They may have told him, no, don't go or that. But whatever he did, I'm sure he's actually okay with it. And that's the reason why he came out smiling and doing what he came to do. So, yes, I mean, it was good.
But you know what? We're going to hold on with, broadcast of what's happening on social media and bring you James Aveji. I understand he's with James Gardner.
Yeah, James Gardner.
Having an interview with James Gardner. Let's go to James Aveji.
Let's try and catch the victory statement from you. I'll come back. I mean, this is another friend of his. Tell us about yourself, sir.
I'm DOP. Finally, we made it.
I mean, what does John's victory mean to you as an individual and as a friend too?
I mean so well because for the past 24 years, it has always been MPP. But now, John is here to do the work. And I believe he will do the work and he will do it for the people.
Thank you so much. Let's approach him proper as we take the victory speech from John Dumelo, who has just been declared as winner of the Ayawaso West Wuogon parliamentary election. It came after the former president, John Dramani Mahama, was also declared winner of the presidential election. And we're trying to get there to get this victory speech. It is so packed here. A lot of issues.
So what you're currently seeing on your screen is, an atmosphere of jubilation because former actor, now politician, John Dumelo, who is also now the MP for Ayawaso West Wuogon, has been declared winner of that constituency.
Yeah.
And so that you see that on your screen is him being
and the wife is right there beside him.
Yeah,
and you can also
powdered.
see some industry people over there.
Right, a
Earlier
lot
you saw
of-
James
yeah.
Gardner over there as well. And so it's all jubilation for him. Officially, he's been declared.
Yeah.
I mean, this one came a bit earlier. I
Yeah.
mean, the whole of today in the morning, we heard that he's won and all that. But
Right.
we still have to wait for the EC to declare officially. And so this is where all the jubilation actually comes
But speaking
in.
of creatives who have actually won some seats in
MPs,
Parliament, I mean, we can talk about A+. When you're busy, his
Very, very
constituency,
busy.
very busy man. We're excited about that. Also, I know, apart from John Dumelo, there's also the question
Okay,
about,
Sadiq, we're yet to have the official declaration,
we're
just like
certain about
it's
Sadiq,
happened with John.
winning Okankwe, but of course, definitely once that is declared, we'll bring you.
And it's good for the industry,
that.
it's good for the creatives, because we've been hoping that we'll have a number of people in parliament to be able to force or, as it were, lobby for us to get certain things that we need as an industry. So seeing all these people going over there and the kind of love they have for the industry is going to be good for us in the first
But one
place.
would say, listen, it's not the first time an entertainer has been in Parliament. I mean,
Yes.
Honorable Abla Gomashi was a creative. And one would ask, really, what was she able to?
So now you're looking at the numbers. So now,
Right.
if Sadiq is able to make it, we have about 3 of them already.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Which means that you're not just a minister.
Right.
Those you were mentioning were just ministers.
Right.
Some were MPs, by the way, but there was not too many of them.
Right.
But now you have A plus, who is very, very, vigorous when it
Yeah.
comes to
Very
advocacy and all that.
vociferous as well.
Exactly. You have Sadiq. If he makes it, that's another person who can really
Yeah.
speak for us.
Yeah.
And then you have John
John
DeMello.
DeMello as well.
He's also someone who can really speak
I
for
pick
us.
it. I
So,
pick it.
yeah,
Which is one of the
it looks
terms.
good.
Which is one of the terms that is trending on
I
social
know.
media.
And I think he tweeted.
Yeah.
Kim Paluta
Paluta
tweeted. You should
Making
check
it
out
really interesting.
the response that actually.
Yeah. Probably we should visit.
No, let's
that
try and visit
post.
there and see what.
But one of the things that is also trending, a lot of people are asking questions about, during Dr. Mahamudu's
the speech,
he
yeah,
conceding defeat.
yeah.
They could not find his running mate.
Napo wasn't around.
By him. And
Yes,
a lot of people
I
are
saw
asking
that.
on social media, perhaps if it was a victory speech
would
that
have
he
been
was
there.
having, would he have been there? I mean, what do you make of that?
So I think it will be a decision, a personal decision, if
Right.
indeed he was around and didn't, come to where they were standing. Because obviously if he had won and he was giving the victory speech, you would have been the vice president and you would have been close to him.
Right.
So if you're not there, why are you not there? I saw Justin Cody over there, and some people who mattered. But a vice president
Yeah.
or an incoming vice president is an incoming vice president.
Right.
Whether win or lose, you have to be there.
Right.
And so I am just hoping that there isn't too much of disappointment.
Right.
Maybe he's a bit or too much disappointed about the way things went, and so it's difficult for him to actually.
So perhaps
come
is that right
around.
to say that he was a running mate of only the good times? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm playing the devil's advocate, right? This is not my thought.
It's a running mate of good and bad times.
Right. But anyway, I've seen a post, people congratulating some of our creatives. I've seen, you want to help.
Okay,
with
so
some
this
of the
is Michael
conversation?
Angel. Can you come down a bit so
Okay,
I could
sure,
get?
sure,
Okay, and he says congratulations, honorable, and that's to A plus, right?
Right.
Joseph Atisiba says congratulations to this fearless man. He's a hero. And Myronica says congratulations. Akujifa Glico says congrats, A plus. And then you have
Isabella?
Isaac Arthur. Okay, that's gone up. So let me just read this one.
Okay.
Congratulations, my boss. That's Isaac Arthur. You have Isabella also saying, congratulations, A plus, you fought well. Please continue to work hard. Reward is ahead of you. Thank you. Dixon just says, congratulations, bro, you made it. And Shelly Asante says, congratulations with the heart emoji over there as well. So,
Right.
yeah, good
Awesome.
stuff.
Everyone is,
Things we love to see.
I'm telling you, let's go on X.
No,
no,
no, you didn't say we should go on X.
No, we have to go on X because we need to. I know a lot of things are trending on X.
A lot of
Chairman
trolls, by the way.
Wood
X
to
is a
me-
lot of trolls.
Chairman Wood to me is trending on X. And
Why? For what
Jean
reason?
Mensah as well, the Electoral Commission's commissioner,
Yeah.
also trending. Let's
A
go
lot
on
of people
that
are waiting on her,
trend.
actually. So, yeah.
Right? Okay, so Niak says Prophet Kofi Oduro said this 3 years ago. This is the modern day. Okay, well, okay. Says you stood with the people throughout. Jean Mensah, stop wasting our time. I think basically you're right. A lot of people
Are waiting on her,
think
yeah.
that it was deliberate, perhaps, of the EC to,
No, I mean,
delay.
From yesterday till now, it's only natural that people would expect that maybe one constituency will be mentioned.
Right.
Or 2 of them, or 3, even if you can do all the 16.
Right.
But as it stands right now, we're not even looking at declaration because, I mean, that's a long road from where we sit now. But we can't do 1 or 2 constituencies. We can
But
mention
to be
that.
fair,
So people would definitely have
To
questions.
be fair, I mean, I
regards to
watched how things panned out yesterday, and like I said, the collating of the results were characterized with a lot of chaos, a lot of violence.
But there were others who were also very free of violence, right?
Well, true.
So you might want to say that, okay, if we have issues with other places, why don't we tackle those places that we feel that it was
Right.
seamlessly, okay, that we don't have to wait
Right.
for the others to come in. So obviously, people
Right.
would have questions,
Right.
to ask when it comes to that. And people are actually saying 4 years ago, we didn't see this.
We didn't see what?
The delay.
The delay.
So why the delay
okay.
now,
I mean, times
right?
have changed. We're in 2024. 4 years ago was 4 years ago. Was 2020. We cannot really compare. The time. Times have changed.
you may also want to agree with them, you know, if
True.
they're raising concerns.
Oh, this is another thing that's actually trending. When G Mensa declares the winner, Second D, please push it down. I mean, a lot of people had a problem with you know, this statue. I mean, the president's commissioning his own statue. The argument was that let some other organization do it, like I think the police headquarters. What they did for Madam Tiwa.
Okay.
Right? It was honoring. But for you to, I mean, erupt your own statue and commission it.
And you should check the results that came from that area in the Western region. It wasn't good. Some people, in fact, the Mesa actually lost his seat over there, you know, in the Western region as well. So,
which is something, yeah, I mean,
he's a deputy minister for tourism as well.
Right. I mean, and
he lost.
Katie Hammond, our favorite Katie Hammond.
He's my favorite.
In my opinion, I think Parliament will be so boring going forward because he brought some humor. He brought some life into Parliament. I mean,
I have loved him for his words. You know, he's one person you can't hate.
Absolutely.
You can't really hate him. You know, imagine we're having an interview with a member of Parliament, whatever it is, and he comes from behind and then whispers something in the ears of the. I mean, really. He
had a gift of making light of even the most serious issues.
In Parliament.
So I think, Katie Hammond, I did not see him losing his seat.
I didn't as well. I didn't. A friend of mine said that he would have a good collaboration with Lexi and Obi and Ponsa and the likes.
What does that mean?
He's got a very good humor. He's got a good humor, you know. So
no, just say it. Be bold. You're saying he's a comedian.
But I love Katie Hammond, by the way.
Of course, we love Katie Hammond. Unfortunately, he's lost his seat.
And this one, very unexpected.
Woo.
But then again, you remember that she came out and said she was tired of going to Parliament and she wanted to
and
just
then,
leave
so I was following the analysis. I mean, in the morning, I hear it was a turn when she said that initially. I think the party planned that someone would, you know, would go after her.
And then it was a U-turn.
A younger man to go instead of her. And then she came out and said, and going.
Some people believe she was not even really visible in the area. She was doing elsewhere, and sort of because maybe she felt she had a firm grip of the constituency, and so it wouldn't really bother her that much, you know. But unfortunately, these are some of the mighties that have fallen with regards to this election.
The quote and unquote the casualties. But anyway, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead still. And Jean Mensa, this one
says that because Bawumia congratulated Mahama, the NDC is already celebrating like they've won. Newsflash, it's the EC that has the final say. In Jean Mensa, we trust. It is possible.
I mean, just imagine. I mean, I'm not saying it can happen. I'm not the EC, but just imagine, you know, the EC comes and says, you know what, contrary to popular belief, per our data, it is actually possible. What would this
That would be
like?
A bold decision for bold solutions. A very bold decision for a bold solution.
That would be very, very interesting. I cannot even imagine what would happen. Chairman Wood, to me, is trending. I mean, and I can understand why he's trending.
He's not spoken yet, has he?
No, he hasn't. I mean, I can understand why he's trending. I mean, he's been very active throughout the campaign period. Even a week into, you know, remember when Bawumia visited that church? Is it?
The Philadelphia Church.
Philadelphia Church. You know, and I don't know what they call it, a shrall or whatever. I've forgotten what they call that. That
was more like when Jesus went onto the mountains. You remember when he went to pray and had that on him?
And they threw a lot of money, gave them money and all of that. He was up in the news that, you know, so what, are we buying the church now to influence voters' decision and all of that?
He prayed in tongues. I love the tongues.
Yeah, Luvika, Elo, Huvika, something, I forgot it.
Dr. Slika Yami says that Chairman Wood to me fits craze.
With that picture, diabolical picture. And this one also says, then Inquisitor.
It says that low voter turnout favors the opposition party. Therefore, all odds are in favor of the NDC as the expected number of voters didn't meet what we projected.
I mean, it's instructive to note that Bright made this known on our platform. I think it was that conversation he was having with Benjamin Akako.
Exactly, yesterday,
he said that normally during an election, when there's a low vote turnout or voter turnout, I should say, I beg your pardon, it normally goes against, the incumbent party. And so for him, it was no surprise that, the NPP
for some reason, I think many of these people, expect actually saw it coming when the low turnout conversation started coming out. I mean, you remember that most of our people who went out, many of the constituencies afterward, complaining about the way the turnout was, and experts, actually saw that we're headed towards where we are right now. So
I see Owusu Bempa, which, I mean, maybe it's unrelated, but with his name being there, probably let's talk about what president-elects per provisional results, because the EC, again,
we're still waiting
have
on the
not
EC.
declared him winner. So, I mean, with the provisional results, president-elect, what does his win mean for all these pastors who, I would say shakingly prophesized his win? I mean, some of them came out and, it's a green light for the NDC, but you must protect your ballot. It was almost like, Nyamia Council, we're not very sure.
I'm thinking maybe it has to do with dealing with the physical and dealing with the spiritual aspect of it as well. Most times when they say people, even if they pray for you, you still have to do what you have to do as an individual so that whatever it is you're expecting can come your way. Because they say you don't just pray and keep quiet. You don't just pray and sit down. You have to pray and show working. So they're thinking there was the prayer aspect of it, but you needed to also make sure you're guiding.
But I mean, in the
votes.
dispensation where pastors were discouraged against prophesying, I mean, that is why a pastor like, your friend, you had an issue with your friend.
Nigel.
Nigel would, refer to Ghana as Umofia, right? Because they were discouraged from prophesying. And so really, what does this win for the NDC? Because a lot of prophets called a win for the NDC. And in a dispensation where they were being discouraged by the police, security, personnel against prophesying doom and all of that. What does it really, does it mean, the trend of prophecies social media being inundated with a whole lot of prophecies, is it coming back? Is the trend coming back?
I think it's the way they go about it. Nobody, and I'm not sure any president would say that they would just wake up and say they were against prophets, or even the IGP would wake up and say he's against prophets, speaking the mind of God. But you see, when you're dealing with people, you want to be sure what exactly you're telling them and what you're not telling them. And so if you overdo it, obviously you expect somebody to step in and say, you know what, we understand your role in society. We know you mean well. But the way you're going about it, it's becoming a problem.
Right.
Because they have individuals who have complained about it, especially celebrities, who have not been very happy about the way these prophecies come. You understand? And so you would expect that somebody would now step up and say, okay, but most of them went back to the prophets anyway.
Well,
right?
They did.
Presidential candidates went back to them. They didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not the way they go to them and say, but it's the way the prophets go about some of these prophecies. And moving forward,
we'll do. But anyway, if you just joined us, this is HQ Interactive coming to you live from the strong room of your election headquarters. We're live on Joy News, live on Joy Prime Television, live on Joy 99.7 FM as well, and across all our social media platforms on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, wherever you can imagine. I dare say we're there, even Snapchat.
And of course, Studio 995 is in Kumasi as well.
Right.
They've also been really
very
great
instrumental. Very instrumental. I mean, throughout this election coverage, which, by the way, I think we are the mothers that mothered their mothers or the mothers.
Yep. And
right?
they agree.
So shouts to all of you that probably are, stealing we see you. We forgive you.
So the hashtag is election achievement. That's what we're using for this elections. It's been, a long trip, I understand. And we know that most of you out there are very eager. You're looking forward to the EC coming out and saying that, we know the vice president has come out to say this, but we are here to officially declare him the former president and presidential candidate for the NDC, the new president-elect. But before we even get there, we're all going to be here to ensure that we keep you updated of all the information that you need. You know, there were a lot of issues going around the country as well, especially some of the places that have, come out with some very unpleasant situations. We're hoping that the Ghana Police Service will be able to calm down some of these issues in those places as well, so that eventually we can all have, because we are really, really hoping that we have very, peaceful elections. But it has to happen the way it did, and so.
Well, I see a very interesting tweet. A very interesting tweet here, KMG. You want to help us with that?
Who is this?
So this is our outgoing president, Adodi.
And that's the presidential candidate.
Vice presidential.
Okay. This is unpopular opinion. Ghanaians voted for Mahama not because he's better and fit for the job than Bawumia, but because the NPP and its associates have created psychological lacerations on the minds of Ghanaians. Lacerations on the minds of Ghanaians.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Psychological lacerations.
Lacerations.
Anybody want to help us? Because we
should be calling the Joy FM people.
Right?
But me alone, Nanado, and the Kenofori would have won this.
That's quite
So they're making some suggestions over here.
Yeah.
Which Kenofori is this person talking about?
The finance minister, I guess.
The one that they wanted him out?
That's interesting.
The one that they wanted him out.
But I mean, I highlighted this tweet because, again, on social media, it's one of the things that a lot of people are talking about, that Ghanaians necessarily did not want to vote for the NDC. I mean, if they wanted the best choice, I mean, these are not my thoughts. These are things that we saw on social media.
Yep.
They probably wouldn't have voted for the NDC. But the NPP had done the country so bad that they just wanted them out. I mean, what do you think?
I read some pieces from Manasseh Ansari, and it's somewhat, buttress some of these conversations that people are having. And when you look at the analysis that is given, you may want to believe that, well, we've seen presidents come and go. We've seen parties come and go. And we've gotten to a point where we feel like we're stuck at a certain place where we don't really have an alternative. And so let's make do of what we think is better than the one that is already existing. And so you would want to agree with people when they make certain comments like that. But the thing is, now it's upon the NDC to justify all of those things, whether whatever anybody is saying is true or not. Because, mind you, they've got 4 years to do this. Whatever turnaround they want to do, it will be extremely difficult. And that's one thing the NDC is supposed to know by now. I'm not sure that they didn't know before getting into it.
I'm sure
because we've got debts that we need to settle. There are people who have been very aggrieved because things that belong to them didn't get to them. And these are money we're talking about here. So it's a big hole they've put themselves in. But the question is, are they willing to make the sacrifices to make Ghanaians feel they have made a right choice or not?
Question for the gods. But anyway, we are wrapping up. And in wrapping up, we're going to leave you with a video, this video, which is currently also trending.
Oh.
What you see on your screen is actually Prophetess Evangelist Agrada. Now,
Mama Pat.
prior to the election, I mean, she tipped the vice president, Dr. Bawumia, to win these elections. I mean, she was actively.
So this is Sunday service. This should be today.
This is today in her church. I mean, she was actively campaigning for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And then,
So you see the thing. She's got all women over there.
Yeah.
This is what we mean by fear women. Anyway.
Okay. On that note, ouch, that hurts. But anyway,
I know.
That's how we're gonna wrap up here on HQ Interactive. We are going to
Studio 997.
Studio 997.
There's some great conversation over there. The team is always ready to make sure that they bring you the updates.
Beautiful MFR Detty is there. And take it away, MFR.
MFR Fear Women. You're part of the group.
MF, unfortunately, we can't hear you, so we'll rectify that and then get back to you shortly. We want to wrap up with Professor Abena Yeboah, and then we can hand over to the next team that will be taking over. From here in the studios, Mama V. Owuswa Boaje. Isaac Kofi J. Minta. I always add that to it. And we've stolen a guest from the next team. Bright Simmons is with us in the studios. Really, we stole him for a reason. Because yesterday he was in Studio 997 and he was forced, he was actually pushed to the wall to give his prediction, his projection after he talked about the number of polls that we've seen in this campaign. You gave somewhere around 50-something%. You said you saw an NDC victory. The figures that you're seeing, at least we have 80 constituencies so far. We have 54.76% for John Dramani Mahama, 43.31% for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
So, yeah, I mean, we had a point estimate of about 50.873% and a range between 50.5 to 52.7, thereabouts. And then when the bellwether polling stations results started coming in, we updated that model because that's how you grant truth the model. And remember, it's not a poll. It's a meta model of different models and polls. And that then expanded the range of NDC victory from between 51 to 53.5%. So we are still hopeful that the final results fall within that range. That would mean that at least for the direction, it's correct. What is apparent is, what is beginning to concern us is that it doesn't appear that any specific model, meta model, or poll grasped the depth of the NDC victory in the parliamentary. Not even the most
we're coming to.
Incumbent favorable poll, the Global Info Analytics, was suggesting it in the range of 180s. That's why I'm particularly worried that the bottleneck that the EC has created by having these regional coalition centers in the middle is robbing us of our ability to understand the real pattern as far as the constituency and the parliamentary elections are concerned, almost 24 hours after polling started. You see what I mean? So we're concerned that is not kosher, and it would be great if going forward we remove the regional coalition centers in order to discard this unnecessary bottleneck in the coalition process. Once the parliamentary results come in, and if they do confirm the NDC's internal projection that they've won over 185 seats, that'll be momentous. This was not anticipated by any analyst, not even the most optimistic analyst for the opposition, which is Global Info Analytics. So this will require further analysis to understand what happened and why such a massive green tsunami.
Well, that green tsunami that he talks about, Mamavi, there's been a number of seats, and I'm sure that Kofi will get to the smart wall shortly on this. Ablekuma West, Domi Kwabinya. We are seeing in our own constituency, Henry Courtier has lost the seat, Eslo Wusu lost the seat, Ayawasu, West Wogon. There are certain seats that we know are, inherently blue, and it's turned green, very dark green.
So part of what has happened over the last couple of hours amounts to a resetting of the NPP itself to its 1995 default. You have to remember that the NPP was a two-region party. The NDC was the broad-based party. Over the years, it was felt that the economic challenges that the country was facing required a political party that was particularly effective with policymaking and was run by professionals that had done well in business. This was the brand equity that the NPP built over time that allowed them to win in 2000 and over time became the marginally largest party in Ghana. They are slightly larger than the NDC in terms of core base. The problem is that the last 4 years has squandered that brand equity because of the fiscal economic crisis. So the idea was that, okay, when it comes to ethnic balance, then NPP was not that great because, look at the NDC's executive. Just look at the range. Look at the NDC's ministers in the past. Look at the range. So it was felt that the NPP was generally more inclined towards the Akan regions. And therefore, though it benefited from having that base, because the Akans are obviously the largest single bloc, that was helpful. But for the rest of the country, the NDC appeared to have a much broader base. Right. The reason why that broader base started to splinter was because, particularly starting from the 1999 onwards, it was felt as if the NDC, from an economic management point of view, was not very good. Okay. So if the NPP then builds, it's almost like people vote for them because they genuinely think that they are more effective in policy. And then they come into power, and then for 3 consecutive years, the struggle to restore economic sanity, it does not surprise me that some of that coalition, certain components of that coalition they built in 2000 that are not core voters of the NPP but have become brand affiliated with NPP because they see them as more professional or effective policymakers. Some of that coalition is fraying. So what you are seeing now is places like Kokomlemle, which is very cosmopolitan, people that are not core Akan and therefore core constituency of the NPP having second thoughts about the effectiveness. Policy issues around the way that free SHS was implemented. Free SHS was a great boon. It's probably the most popular policy any party has ever implemented in Ghana. But the way that it's been implemented drove people that are not core NPP voters away. I was in one of the polling stations here, King's College, Kokomlemle, which is one of the bellwether polling stations for us in these elections. Typically NPP voting, this time around they switched, which is why it's not surprising that Henry Kote lost, the Minister of Interior. But I asked them, I did a quick survey to try and understand what was the driving force for this change. Surprisingly, almost everyone mentioned a school that has been demolished. But here's what is confusing. They say the school has been demolished and it hasn't been rebuilt and they're angry about that. But they blame free SHS. I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, you blame free SHS, why? And the feeling is that the whole education sector has been disrupted because this policy was focus. It was surprising because other surveys suggest that free SHS is very popular. And in fact, one of the things that the NDC has to guard against is how they manage the communication around free SHS reforms if they attempt it. But these were people that somehow felt that the free SHS had become a wrecking ball. It's being used to force them down because at the end of the day, you can't talk about quality, you can't talk about your administration, school block being demolished because people are going to say, oh, you're not paying fees. You're being ungrateful. So I think we have to be really nuanced. The ethnography, the anthropology of how we interpret these results have to be very nuanced. Because some of the things that we are seeing on the ground is fascinating.
Well, they talk about this being a communal labor and whether the NPP will remain the same again, and the concerns that the sins of this particular government has been visited on Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I don't know if you think that the NPP will be the same again after this particular election.
Yes, because you have to remember that the NPP has shown incredible resilience, starting with a party that barely made any dent outside the Asante region in '92, slowly expanded to the eastern region and the Akan areas based on an Akan consolidation. Remember that Akans are very fractious. There are many multiple in Akan groups. But the NPP generally, because the Akans were urbanizing faster, the Akans are more likely to be concerned about cost of living and economic performance and things like that, start to consolidate around an Akan identity. That doesn't mean these people were voting ethnocentrically. You have to be very careful about the analysis. The Akans have other features, which is that they were urbanizing very fast. A lot of them were business women and men and women. So those features meant, therefore, that they were very sensitive to economic collapse, high inflation, high interest rates, which is what we saw in the late 90s. That enabled the NPP to mobilize and consolidate the Akan vote. And that made them the biggest party in Ghana. But it was contingent on this view that they are better at managing the economy and that they are better at general policy making. The fracturing of that identity for the NPP has been extraordinary. So we are now observing a situation where we've had inflation above 20% on average for 3 consecutive years. We've had interest rates hitting 30%, even if you're a prime customer, for 3 consecutive years. This is frightening for a party that prides itself on small, its appeal to small businesses, prides itself on its ability to manage macroeconomic factors. Remember the famous word mismanagement? In the Rawlings era, that was the word that defined the NPP's attack against the Rawlings government, mismanagement. Now, people look at the circumstances that we find ourselves in right now and they feel like this party is losing. What does that mean? What that means, though, is that the swing voter population, those that are sympathizing with one party or the other but are not core base, are now numbering about 3 million. That's a very frightening prospect for every party. Any party can be a one-time party going forward. And the NPP...
Which I say is good for our governance.
Up to a certain point. And the NPP can actually bounce back, but here's the problem. If the vote margin is about 1 million or more, they will need at least 2 elections.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to all the talk on this, but we have to go to the NDC headquarters now, Amavi, and we are told that
the chairman of the party.
The chairman of the party is just about to address the press.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the media, and good afternoon, countrymen. Let me begin by thanking every one of you for our collective effort to help the nation to decide our own future. For the past 2 days, we've gone through this electioneering process. The process has delivered outcomes, and we take note of the concession speech delivered by His Excellency Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia. And before the concession speech, the party put out the results as has been compiled through our own collation system. Fortunately, these results have not been contested by our main opponents, and they have heeded to our call to concede to defeat so that we can bring down the tension which has been rising in the nation. We thought that the competent Electoral Commission must have had their results now, because you have a commission which is a referee. The key players, the two key players, have produced our results, and you are to pronounce, and yet they seem to be feet-dragging. And in our earlier press conference addressed by the National Communication Officer, we indicated how necessary it is for the Electoral Commission to stop the feet-dragging so that the results can be announced, and then the tensions in the nation will come down. We believe that that is the way to secure peace. Unfortunately, we still are waiting on the Electoral Commission, and our agents countrywide are complaining because simply they do not understand the reason why the Electoral Commission is not announcing the obvious. Because of that, the youth of this country have started reacting. And I think that this is a very dangerous moment in the history of our country. In the weeks leading to the election, you all recollect that the National Peace Council plus other peace industry players came to our office here and demanded of us to sign a peace declaration. We put our cards on the table that peace cannot be guaranteed by the two participating political parties in the election, because you have other stakeholders whose responsibility is to maintain peace at each of the election theaters. And so if they do not commit themselves to conducting their duties fairly, the parties per se cannot guarantee peace. And we put our reasons for not signing the peace agreement forward. We demanded that justice be done in places where crimes had been committed during elections, some of which have been investigated, particularly the Ayawaso West Wogon case, and a report generated with recommendations for sanctions. And yet, nothing has happened to those perpetrators. And some of them, in the lead to the election, were bragging all over the place that NDC is going to win, but we will steal the vote. And if you joke, we kill you and nothing will happen. We brought all this to the attention of the National Peace Council and asked them to actually get the government players to commit to the peace deal and also put in place a naming and shaming scheme where they will be monitoring the conduct of all the signatories, so that when or if they find any of the signatories reneging on their commitment, then they can be named publicly and shamed, and we believe that that will force those actors to take the appropriate action. Throughout all this electioneering process, we have persistently been complaining about Electoral Commission's feet dragging in getting results announced. We have not heard the National Peace Council or anybody in the peace industry calling the Electoral Commission to fast-track their duty of collating and announcing results so that it brings peace in this country. As we speak to you, and earlier on, you were here when our National Communication Officer explained to you the outcomes as per our collation system. And they still are available for everybody to see. And the evidence is overwhelmingly clear. It is not as if the outcomes of the elections is that close that can generate any controversy. President John Dramani Mahama has secured a historical 56%, over 56% of the votes. And these figures are compilations from our copies of the Electoral Commission's pink sheets across the country. So if they have the originals and they have signed and given us copies of the originals they are holding, what prevents them from putting their own totals together and announcing? We told them that we are aware of government's connivance with the Electoral Commission to delay the declaration of results so that agitations will start and then the military will be unleashed to shoot and kill innocent citizens. We made this thing clear to the National Peace Council. So one would have thought that if the National Peace Council is actually interested in peace, and they have, as a matter of fact, that the two key political parties have all declared results that are consistent in a certain direction, they ought to call out the Electoral Commission to live by the commitments they have signed to. I felt disappointed when a deputy chairperson of the commission addressed a press conference virtually indicating that nobody can pressurize them to declare elections and so on. So they should come and tell us if they have any challenges that is impeding the expedition of the collations and declaration. The nation ought to know. But keeping the nation, in a situation where nobody knows what is happening, interested parties are bound to react. In fact, I have been called upon by the National Peace Council to speak to the youth of my party to remain calm. And I have responded that I have done that before 4 years ago. And they remained calm and they were cheated. And nothing happened. So the only way I can call on the youth of my party and of this country to remain calm is where justice has been delivered, and maybe out of jubilation or retribution, I can call them to stay calm, because then you have a government that will ensure that wrongdoers will be punished. And that is the only way I can commit myself to calling the youth to remain calm. We cannot remain calm and be cheated twice. So the way forward is for the National Peace Council and all the other actors to call on the Electoral Commission to expedite action on the declaration. You don't need to declare all the constituency results before you declare the winner of the presidential elections. That can be done. If it is done now, we will then follow up with a reasonable statement calling on our people, those who fear that they could be cheated, to now pipe down, and then there will be peace. But in this situation where everybody is in suspense, if I, as the national chairman of NDC, call on my party people to remain calm and allow themselves to be cheated, I will not survive it. And I'm not going to. So thank you very much. Today, I'm not accepting any questions, and I'm not answering any questions. Well, Omar this year, any abusuafoɔ ne nsɛntwerɛfoɔ a yɛahyia mu. Megyeri sɛ obiara nim sɛ baabi a ɔman no gyina saa bere no, yɛnhyɛ da nyina yie papa. Ɛfiri sɛ abatoɔ yi yɛbɛkɔ mu no, yɛtete nsɛm bebree obiara nim, including MPP foɔ. Sɛ aba no deɛ Ghanafoɔ bɛto ama NDC. Nanso yɛtoma NDC a yɛn ne ɛwɔ aban mu yɛbɛwiam. Yɛyɛ amfa anyɛ hwee. Mebɛyɛ nsɔntwerɛfoɔ nhyia mu kaa sɛ wo ne sasabrɔnsa mu didi a yɛnya ne sɛ wobɛma watere bɛmu tenten. Enti yɛn no abatoɔ wei yɛde yɛn a yɛ referee ɛkɔ ringi no. Na Electoral Commission will be forced ɔno a ɛbɛyɛ nhyɛ ama no sɛ ɔbɛbɔ Obebobo edin no akase NDC edin kunyo. Peace Council for the Enkrata ba say yensen sign say yen ye betimi asan apambia ma asundwa ba oman no. Yeso ye ka kire wo say yen nyina ye pa asundwe. But say ye pa asundwa niema ema asundwe ba. Eni nipa hodo a ewo oman no mu a say yen nyina te ase say asundwe mra na asundwe ba. Monfa apam no nto ho na omu nyina ne yensen sign. Yesan ni wi a yensan enti ase se obia na djuma bi wo mu a ese so oye no oye no yi se de be ya sunwe beba no se duru ba bi na ehunu se onye no yi a ye nyina bebom abonidin abone sobo se wo na wonti na saa de we esisi enti ye wentem enti.
And as the NDC's chairman, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, remember that the first time he became chairman of the party, he won an election for the party as chairman, addressing the press, talking about the delay in declaring results from the coalition center. But quickly, we want to go to Studio 997 and join Emefa Adetide as she wraps up with her guests.
Thank you so much, Mama V, and welcome back to Studio 99.7. And so that's the chairman, I beg your pardon, the chairman for the NDC, wearing that costume. That's not so surprising, but quite surprising as well. And he talked about a few things, especially reacting to the concession speech by the vice president. Also talked about the delay of the EC in declaring results, if not all of it, at least some of them, and they are unable to at least call the youth to order, because it's quite difficult for them, because they think that the delay is what is causing them to behave the way they are. But I will still be bringing you updates, and we're still waiting for the EC as well. It's definitely not the NDC only, but all of us as a country. But I would like to say a big thank you to Professor Yeboah Benin, who is still with us and is being through all the process with us here. I'm also joined by Professor Alidu Seidu, head of the Political Science Department in the University of Ghana. But I'm going to be wrapping with Professor Yeboah Benin. And before we went on that long crossover, remember that we were taking her comment on how the President-elect, if the EC would declare President Mahama as the President-elect later today, should be faring, and how the party should also be looking at it, especially because he has only 4 years to be the president of the country. And also, Professor Yeboah Benin has been quite concerned about a few things that we're watching. Remember, in Pandai, there were some disturbances over there. Damango as well. The EC office over there has been set ablaze. Earlier as well, Weja Bawe, the military was also called to calm a situation there. Similar situation in Pandai constituency, and many other places that we've been reporting here on the election headquarters. So I'm going to go to Professor Yeboah Benin to wrap all of this, box all of this up together for me.
Right. Thank you very much, Emefa. A few things I want to say before I leave. The first of which perhaps is to reflect back on what the chair of the NDC has just said in the press conference. I'd wish for more conciliatory language from this point on. After all, their opposition has conceded. And so perhaps I would have wished that a stronger call to their youth to say we have won. The one we're competing with has conceded. That story is not about to change. Calm down. Calm down and allow the EC officials to do their job. After all, we have our own evidence as well. And so I would have wished for a more calming voice. He finishes off on a note of that is only possible in to the extent that the EC comes out to declare. I'd agree with him that we need to hear from the EC, and sooner than later, but I would have wished also that he had finished off on a note where he's calling their supporters to calm down, because at the very least, the one they're competing against has thrown in the towel and said, I agree that you have won. That should mean something. Young people shouldn't troop onto the streets, shouldn't troop to collation centers, shouldn't have to put their lives at risk and put other people's lives at risk while we wait for the EC. But on that note, perhaps also to go to the EC and make a call on them, because the silence and the time is deafening. I know that they have their systems to go through, they have their T's to cross and their I's to dot. We don't begrudge them for trying to do due diligence, but perhaps a bit more contact with us, a bit more detailed update as to why are we here? Why has the main candidate competing against former President John Mahama been able to come up and raise his hand? And hours later, we still don't know, not even one drop from the EC as to what the direction of the results would be. I think that we need to hear and faster from the EC and something more substantive so that it gives grounding to call people to calm down. And perhaps this is an opportunity to chip in why it is important that the media be given access into these places, the collation center, the initial, debacle about whether to give access or not to give access. Even with our cameras there, look at what is going on. So imagine if there weren't people in there who could tell the world what is happening, just how probably we could have degenerated in the scenes that we are seeing. And so perhaps this reminds us why it was important that the media gained access. I would also take this opportunity. You asked me about the next 4 years and former President Mahama's tenure, second term. Ghanaians have given him what seems to be a very, very clear empowerment. Ghanaians have given him a mandate with the assurance that they want him to do it, and it's reflecting in Parliament. And so, to all intents and purposes, there's going to be a majority on the NDC side. That, on the one hand, encourages, but on the other hand, reminds former President Mahama and the NDC that there will be very little room for errors, because not only did the Ghanaians give you the mandate, they gave you the backroom power from the Parliament side to be able to get your things through and to solve problems that people are struggling with. We don't want 4 years from now to receive the rhetoric of it was only 4 years, there wasn't enough time. Right from day one, I think that the message is being given to former President Mahama that the mandate that has been given is being given on both ends, and so go and do us good. And I'd wish to see that he takes this up. At the very least, also, he is standing in a very good position to want to leave us a legacy of a good name, a legacy of impact, a legacy of relevance. He has 4 years, doesn't have to worry about his next term, although his party would be worried and should be worried about his next term. But he stands opportune to do something emphatic and to leave Ghanaians with something good to remember him by. And we all look in this space and hope that that is what eventually happens. Kudos to Dr. Bawumia. I think that he did us good in coming out as early as he did to concede. I'm not too sure whether his party members may be as excited about this, but I think that he's done all of us a favor in stepping out and saying, I see the direction this is going, there's no need belaboring this point, I concede. Kudos to him. I think that he's done all of us a favor and he stands tall in this regard. About the chances of an NDC dominance in Parliament, a part of me wants to be slightly worried, but I hope that I will be proven wrong. A part of me wants to be slightly worried because we want a bit more checks and balances than what we seem to have set ourselves up for. I hope that I am wrong. But whatever it is, my message to them is that Ghanaians have given a mandate. Take it, run with it, and solve problems that we are facing. Our youth want opportunities to be able to live and thrive in their country without having to go through dangerous means to try and enter other countries. Our children need better education. We have needs here, and we've given the mandate for them to be able to lead. They should so do.
Oh, thank you so much. I was so drawn into that conclusion message from Professor Yeboah Benin. Mighty, you've got another thing to say.
Yes, one last thing. I
Please do.
cannot leave this studio without saying how excited I am that for the first time there's a woman as Vice President of the Republic.
That's actually a reiteration because you did that in the introduction commentary
Yes.
as well. Thank you so much, and you're mighty generous with the time with us here on the Studio 997 here at the election headquarters. But before I hand over to my colleagues on the Joy News channel, let me just allow Professor Alidu Seidu to just, maybe react on the concession speech of the Vice President and how and what it means for his political career moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much. I think, like Prof mentioned earlier, he did Ghanaians a lot of good by conceding very early and reducing the tension that we will have had in the country to a little bit of a minimum level. But it also speaks volumes. Now, he has inherited a lot of image that characterize President Nana Akufo-Addo and his government. So what he has done is something that people will talk about for the next 4 years of the NDC government. He has demonstrated statesmanship, but he has also created a point of departure of how peaceful he is and somebody who keeps his promise, what he has signed before the elections. But also, this is a very good image that he's going to carry in his in his intention to lead the party after 2028 and beyond. So I think at the personal level, he has benefited a lot. And also when you look at social media and other things, people are congratulating him for what he has done. He has saved the country, but he has also created an opportunity for him to lead the party when there's an opportunity. Time for that to happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Alidu Seidu. And by the time you'll be back here into Studio 997, it will be my colleague Benjamin Akakpo, especially also with Professor Alidu Seidu, continuing the conversation on your election headquarters. My name is Emefa Akosia Adeti. It's been quite a pleasure right here. But do stay with us. Do stay with us. We are your election headquarters. I'm handing over to Mama V and Emefa on the Joy News channel.
Well, thanks to you, Emefa Adeti from Studio 997. We will continue with the conversation with Professor Alidu in a bit and Bright Simmons. But Kofi, I want you to just paint a picture in terms of the constituency, the results that we have so far, and how our smart wall is looking like.
Now is the main focus, because if you look on our screens, we have now more than 90 out of the 276. So let's go to the smart wall and try to bring in the national map and see how it is looking like so far.
It is filling up.
It's filling up, and you can see evidence that the green wave is national. You can see it's scattered across the length and breadth of the country. And if you want to spot blue, then you have to really squint and possibly look at the Ashanti region and maybe somewhere in the eastern region. But Greater Accra and all other swing, regions are green, Mama V.
Well, Kofi will be staying. Kojo Brace will be taken over. As we think about it, I am just thinking, is it the incompetence of the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that has resulted in this massive loss? Is it perhaps the fact that 8 cannot be broken no matter what you do? Or maybe wrong messaging? We're going to be continuing with the analysis. MFA, it is time for us to go.
Yes, we have to go. And the next team will take over. Kojo Brace and Benjamin Akakpo will take over when we return. And Bright Simmons was on loan to us. So we'll hand him over back to the next team. And of course, it's been a pleasure serving you. And we know we have a president-elect. And we'll also take you to the National Coalition Center as the results painfully trickles in at the election headquarters. I am MFA Pao.
And I am Mama Vioso Abuaji. Just one more thing.
We're leaving Isaac Ofieje here.
Isaac Ofieje, yes, we'll leave him. We know the NDC says, the party says that the president-elect, former President John Dramani Mahama, the NDC's presidential candidate in this election, would speak.
Yes.
But that will be after the returning officer in the presidential elections, Jean Mensah, makes a formal declaration. So for those of you who are waiting for John Dramani Mahama to speak, this is what we have
and they add
from
to
the
that
party.
statement that we do not know when that declaration will be done.
Yeah. Well, there's more on your election headquarters. Please do stay with us.